So room checkup. Can you just type into the chat where you are joining this this beautiful Coaching in Africa dialogue for this International Youth Day on? Can you just type in the chat for us to know where you are joining this? Laura, you cannot type, so we already know you are from the US in the sugarcane plantation. So we know. Oh, okay. So you can keep typing to share with us where you are chatting from. Michelle from the US, Angelina, yes, of course, from Ghana. Who else? Ruth, also from the US. Patrick from Ghana. Please keep it coming. Let's know where you are. You are chatting from where you are joining us from on this conversation.
And they said,
Oh, Philip, Cape Town. I'm coming home soon. Who else? Abidjan, yeah. Our name is Ain. Beautiful. Stephanie, Burkina Faso. Wow, incredible, incredible. We have Gifty from Ghana, Gimpa. Raymond, also from Ghana, Gimpa. Dorcas from Ghana. Thank you very much. To set the ball rolling, on behalf of ICF coaches in Ghana, we want to warmly welcome everyone to this Coaching in Africa dialogue series. And this particular month on is in honor of International Youth Day. So we want to say Akwaaba to everyone, and we are excited that we could do this for the young people, letting go of the age that we place on ourselves and become youth in heart and youth in the mind, so that we can play a critical role in issues concerning our young people, using coaching as a tool to be an integral role, in this journey. And for housekeeping purposes, please, if the session is going on and opening for questions or contributions are requested, kindly raise up your hand using the emo icon such that we can be able to call you. And I'm doing this moderation with my dear sister Emily Scoffrey Nanaya Yabua. I am a transformational leadership and executive coach, currently coordinating all ICF coaches in Ghana in our pursuit towards attaining a chapter status with ICF. And a little update on that is, by the grace of God and hard work and the commitment of all ICF coaches and members in Ghana, we are at the last lap in attaining a chapter status, second right after Nigeria. So at least we're going to have two chapters now. So our senior brothers, we are just right behind your heels. And I want to use this time to appreciate every member of the ICF coaching community in Ghana that have played key role, critical role in getting us this far. It looks so swift, but it took hard work, it took commitment, it took a lot of sacrifices to make sure we come this far. So we want to say also thank you to Nigeria, Sochi, the president of Nigeria ICF chapter, was ceded to us to baby walk us through this journey. And even though we're baby walking, we also carried along Rwanda. Stephen Musali, if you are here, we also carried them along. We were not a chapter here, but we carried the community along and say, we are doing this together. So thank you also for being in the woods with us, representing Rwanda. And we know right from Ghana, the next chapter we want to support to come upstream will be Rwanda. Then also to our sisters from Burkina Faso, Sarah, Jessie from Switzerland, Wilhelmina from the US, all of you, even from the diaspora, choosing to want to commit to your country of origin and push coaching forward. So without much ado, Emily, can you give us an introduction? Then we go straight to introduce our speakers for today.
Okay, thank you, Scoffrey, for the introduction, and welcome everyone. And thank you for joining. My name is Emily Nwankwo. I am an executive coach. I have a world of experience in both corporate and international organizations in terms of management, people management, change management, and leadership. And the reason why I chose the line of executive coach, because I realized that in the work that goes on in organizations, if the executive can't appreciate what goes on down the line, then it's difficult for anyone to rise. So this fits in very well with this Agenda 2023, this agenda of AU for the youth. Because if we cannot get the executive to reach back and look back at the youth and pull them up, then we're going nowhere. So I am very committed to this particular agenda that we're going to take up. And I believe that we're going to focus on it every year, and we're going to make it one of our flagship activities. I'm very happy to be a coach. I have been a coach on and off in my life, right throughout my work. But when I was retiring, I decided I want to focus full-time coaching. And then I met Scoffrey in Ghana. And then we got the fire burning in our belly about getting the Ghana chapter going. So here we are, and we're happy that I'm supporting Scoffrey in the Ghana chapter, ICF Ghana chapter. It's very exciting. We have met very interesting people. We have done quite a few. We have done a couple of webinars before now. We have been on radio, we've been on TV, and I think that we're growing in leaps and bounds. And I know that this particular day, today, we're going to sow something new seeds. And we're going to have a new activity that we are all going to do together for the youth of Africa, for the betterment of our continent. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you very much, my co-moderator. And we will zoom straight to our speakers for today. And I will start with Caroline from Rwanda. A brief about you.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Nice. So yeah, my name is Caroline Nomuhire. I'm from the beautiful country of Rwanda, and I come from like an international development sector. So I hold a degree in agricultural sciences and a master program in global health delivery, but I have really like developed my career in international development. Working in program management, and for the past 10 years, I've been like working on teams and winning with teams. But at the same time, I realized that where we are as an ecosystem and as teams, there's this catalytic element of coaching and support that goes beyond the hard skills that we have to offer. That has always been missing. And one of like my key roles have been like a leadership development for staffs, and I really developed my passion in the area. I realized that we need catalytic models that help employees winning both in their personal lives but also like at work, and that really pushed me to kind of like discover a bit more what is leadership coaching, what is professional and personal development for young leaders who are really doing a great job but who maybe have not been exposed to this type of additional skills throughout like the education system. So that's where I come from, and that's how I nurtured my interest in providing coaching support to young leaders, organizational leaders, different employees and teams. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. Coach Akanimo, our brother from ICF Nigeria.
Thank you, Skofre, and hello, everyone. So my name is Kanimo. I'm here in Nigeria, and I'm from Nigeria. Well, I started off, I don't know about you guys, but I read chemical engineering, never practiced it. I know some people want to shoot me right now and say, why did you go to school for 5 years and never practice it? But well, it happens. They say life happens. And but yes, when I did my MBA, I realized my passion for human resources, organizational development and all that. And here I am. I'm a leadership coach. I'm a trainer. And I also happen to be a counselor as well. So it so happens that I generally work with youths who are going through mild addictions, depression, suicide ideation. So beyond being a leadership coach and an ICF PCC coach, I also work with youths and adults who are going through some of life challenges, and life can be, and we recognize that life can be tough. So beyond that, for corporates, I do employee training, employee assistance programs where companies have now realized that you can't ask people to keep their issues at home, and so they pay for employee assistance programs where the employees can contact a counselor and have a one-on-one. The company pays for that, but the conversations are confidential. So I do that, and then I'm also into team building and strategy development for organizations. So no regrets not doing engineering, but really happy and passionate that I'm helping individuals, teams, and organizations to succeed and be more effective. So thanks, Skofre and team, for having me on board. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful day today.
Thank you very much. And we want to now have Nasirian, if I got the name correct, because I was practicing this here before she joined. So please, if I got the name right, Nasirian, please. Here we are.
At least I'm the only one with the name that starts with N. So whenever you say anything N related, we'll know you're referring to me. Thank you so much, Skofre. I'm so excited to be here, to be part of this conversation today. My name is Nasirian Kimathi. I'm joining you from Nairobi, Kenya. It's a chilly afternoon in Nairobi here. My background has been in HR and organization development for about 15 years now. But like Akanimo, I also went through a career transition only much later and not early enough. Like for him, my realization came a bit later. And so in recent years, I transitioned into career transitions coaching. So I coach people who've gone through the kind of challenge that I went through, where I started feeling that probably I'm not having the amount of impact, level of impact that I want to have with the skills and the strengths that I have. So that's the kind of coaching that I do. And so it's exciting to then have this conversation around how we can help our youth also be able to kind of fix that problem much earlier in their lives as compared to later in their careers. I'm also here representing ICF Kenya. We are about 9 years old. So don't worry, Skofre, you will get here very, very soon. You'll be celebrating your decade anniversary very, very soon. It's a group of very supportive coaches on this side of East Africa. And we're really looking forward to you guys becoming a chapter and continuing to, walk this coaching journey in Africa together. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being here and choosing to represent ICF Kenya. So let me quickly go into the membership and see who is here that we have to acknowledge. We still have a couple of our friends from the diaspora joining us, supporting us. I do coaching global representatives have also joined us here. We have our students who are on pro bono coaching with Ghana coaches. Some of the Ghana coaches are also here. So we are set the ball as it is. So please hold on. I want to share a screen which dovetails into the reason why we need to.
Afraid you didn't forget me.
Sami, your turn. As I'm configuring the screen. Thank you, Sami.
All right. Good afternoon. It's afternoon in Accra. So my name is Samuel Ayim, and I'm a coach in Ghana. My background is in law, and I have been in the financial sector from the stock exchange to banking. And for 25 years, I was in the financial services as the legal advisor. And I became the general counsel and group company secretary for the EcoBank Group. And in that capacity, I managed to visit practically almost all the countries where EcoBank is. EcoBank, if you would know, I believe everybody on this call probably have EcoBank in your country. And I was part of all that growth throughout the continent. And one of the things that became so obvious to me in my role as I support the business in all these countries was the critical role of leadership. And it was, I mean, the statement by John C. Maxwell was so obvious that everything rises and falls on leadership. And every time we had a good leader in a country, things were running very well. Every time the leadership was not good, things were not going well. And so when, after 25 years in corporate life, I decided to find something more interesting to do, I got certified by John C. Maxwell as a leadership coach and trainer. So I decided to leave the banking sector with all the dollars and to start a center called Center for Transformational Leadership in Africa, based in Accra, where we are focused today on training and coaching. In this area, I've partnered with one organization called BCA Africa, which is an Africa-based coaching organization. And through this, we also do coaching for executives and for incoming CA. I co-facilitate the Pan-African cohort of BCA leadership, where we provide support and coaching support for what we call incoming the C-suite executives and so on. And so Scoffrey just called me and gave me a whip to join. And here I am to support this process of getting a charter in Ghana. So I'm excited to be here with all of you. So let's have it rocking.
Thank you very much, and sorry for the oversight. So kindly pardon me. I want us to quickly look at, if we can see the screen, quickly look at the statistics that the continent of Africa is roughly 1.4 billion. As it stands, if you can see my screen. And the median age for this continent is 19.7 years. So averagely 20 years. That is the median age of the total population of this continent, 1.4 billion plus. Then if you look at the breakdown statistically, okay, so the Mo Ibrahim Foundation states that 60% of our youth fall in that bracket. So, and Mo Ibrahim Foundation went deep down to do a research and stated that 35 years and below constitute 1 billion. So Africa's population, 35 years and below, actually constitute that 1 billion. And if you look at the breakdown of the continent, where 35 years and below constitute 1 billion, then it goes from 0 to 14. Age is about 550.8 million. Then 15 to 34 is also 454.5 million. So this positions us as the second most youthful, or the largest, most youthful demographic continent in the world after Asia. 22.7% of the global youth. Africa constitutes 22.7% of the global youth. And this is where our intention of hosting this particular dialogue on the International Youth Day emerge or comes from, looking at the statistics before us, and what does this mean to us from the coaching fraternity. Let me come to you, our sister Nasirine. What does this statistics mean to you as a coach from where you sit and the work you've done?
Well, right off the bat, the first thing is just the potential that Africa is really sitting on, or that we have in our youth. If that's the proportion of the global population that we have the possibility of having an impact on, just imagine if we actually did that. It starts speaking to the numbers of coaches that we have in Africa and the impact that we're having on people. And on a more personal level, as a career transitions coach, for me, then is asking, are these, you may have these large numbers, but are they engaged? Are they actually present? Are we feeling them and their potential? Are they engaging their strengths? Because as we also know, there are many challenges in Africa that we face. How are we engaging this population to really be participating in solving these challenges that we are going through? So as a coach, I see my role really being very, very critical to making sure that all these people are actually on board. It's great to have the numbers. It's great to see this huge population. But if they are not engaging in the best way possible and being utilized, or feeling that they are fulfilling themselves, then it's just a number. We're not getting the most of it. And as we all know, coaching goes to the heart of that. And I'm excited at the possibilities. You're muted, Skofri.
Coach Akanimo, what does this statistics present to you from where you sit?
Well, I really love what Nasirine said. Sometimes when you look at the numbers, you're like, wow, potential. Many times when our Ghanaian brothers and sisters say, oh, Nigeria, our big brothers. And I say to myself, yes, we're 200 million or so, but how many of those are leading meaningful lives or living above the poverty line? From what I hear, sometimes it's 70 to 80% who are poor, who are living, who are very poor. So they're, like Nasirine said, they're not empowered. The numbers are there. Investors look at it and say, oh, Nigeria potential. But when you now start dicing the numbers, how many of them can afford certain things? How many of them are educated? So at first glance, that potential is there. Now, how do we, as coaches, as leaders, as governments, harness that potential? Because the potential is there in the numbers, but now how do we get them? How do we empower them? How do we educate them? And I think that's where this is just very appropriate as coaches, because what else? This is what we're here for, to partner with our clients, in this case, the youths, to empower them and guide them properly. So the same way millennials empowered or changed the corporate culture worldwide. Okay, so millennials, because of their sheer numbers, have been able to dictate or influence, maybe the better word would be to influence, how, certain things in the corporate world, or they will like more hybrid work, or they want more, certain things. Because their sheer numbers, companies listened, okay? And if we can get our youth to come together, to be more empowered, educated, informed, I think governments will indeed start listening, and they can make a bigger impact and take Africa to where it should be.
Thank you very much. Caroline, From your area, Rwanda, such statistics, where does it sit with you, having done all this you've done with youth?
Yeah, thank you. So from being engaged in international development programs to like being a leadership and personal development coach, what I'm seeing is that we have, yes, these, amazing statistics that are showing us, the demographic growth that comes with so many opportunities, but also pressures. Pressures in terms of like, identifying and designing opportunities for the youth. Because if not, they might end up feeling stuck. And we have seen, for instance, in some of like the countries in the region, how when the youth feel stuck, how they end up even being engaged into armed conflicts and the other components when they feel desperate, when they feel like they're not part of the agenda. So I feel like the human development indicators are increasing across Africa and across the globe. And more young people have access to education. We are seeing a lot of like intercontinental migration. We are seeing like people, going to chase opportunities in different countries. So for instance, for the particular case of Rwanda, where we are observing this demographic growth, and also like, reflecting the same statistics, our youth population is the bigger percentage of the entire country population. There's this need of helping people to discover themselves, discover that particular potential in addition to the formal education that they're accessing more and more. But beyond education and beyond the hard skills that you're getting, who are you? How are you discovering yourself and the opportunities that surround you? And how are you tapping into those? And most importantly, how do we not wait for the government to be the solution provider? Because so many people can be complaining about what the government is doing or not doing in every respective country, but at the same time, we are the government in terms of like the government is the people and the people are the government. So sometimes we look up to the high level leaders to like, design opportunities and show the way to, I guess, like creating the vision for the young people. But at the same time, we have to break that down for individuals because, there's something they can listen to, they can watch on TV for like 1 hour, for 15 minutes. But what does it mean technically to build your own life? I feel like for where we are at in Rwanda, we are that next generation where people have been able to access education. Now, the next challenge, especially for us transformative coaches, is to really like, understand and help them define, then how do you use that particular power you have? And if opportunities are not in Rwanda, where else are they on the globe? And how do you feel supported to go and chase them in a dignifying way? Because dignity for me is also like a part of the equation. Thank you.
Awesome. Emily, please, over to you for the next ball game. Yeah.
Okay. Who do I want to ask this question to? Sammy, in terms of these statistics and where we see the youth coming from and going to, what could be some of the reasons that we don't see the youth actually coming up to take their place? Akanimos mentioned that the millennials did very well. Now, those coming after the millennials, those who came before the millennials, what seems to be the issue among the youth that coaches could now tap into and try to give them a push so that they can become engaged?
Thank you so very much. And when I read those statistics, I just put myself in because I grew up in a very rural area. In a farming community. I walked 7 kilometers to the nearest school, 7 kilometers back every day for the first 13 years of my life. And I've made it a policy that every year I'll go to the village. And when I go back to the village, I see a lot of the people that I started school with. And I mean, when I see them, they're like maybe 20 or 40 years older than I am. I have that privilege of having been in that environment and also being in the city and seeing the people in the cities, the young people, a lot of them, numbers who have finished university education also, who are also frustrated and they are not able to achieve. And if you ask me, what is the challenge? Why is it that they are not being able? I tell you, the number one challenge or problem for our young people is bad examples of leadership. And I strongly believe that example is the most powerful thing that we can give to the youth. Unfortunately for us, every day on our news, in schools, in our corporate life, we are seeing people in leadership positions that are giving just bad examples. You see teachers showing children how to cheat in examination, corporate executives asking for sex before giving jobs, lecturers, everywhere, bad examples. So the youth are in a dilemma. What should they do? What should they take? And they are seeing their counterparts in other countries doing very, very well. So that's one of them. The second is inappropriate educational systems that we have. Even those who have had the opportunity to go through our educational system, the education doesn't give them that thinking power, because you have the teachers who have old notes and they want you to repeat those notes to them to pass exams and so forth. Their education is not very relevant. So for me, those two are the critical things that need to be addressed critically. All the others we can talk about, unemployment and all those things are symptoms in my view. Poverty is just a symptom of bad leadership and bad education. And what that has happened is that the mindset of our people, and especially the young people, have been so deadened that they cannot think for themselves and get solutions, because we don't see our leaders giving solutions to our problems. So they're frustrated. So, I mean, I guess we'll have time to talk a bit more, but to start with, I would say those are from my perspective, the biggest challenges: bad leadership, poor educational system, which has resulted in a mindset that has actually crippled our people and our young people not being able to think out of solution, to come with innovative approaches to their own lives. And that's where I think coaching can also be very, very helpful. I've been mentoring young people all my life. I still consider myself a youth, and I can tell you, they're so frustrated by what they see around them. Thank you. You're muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Sami. And all four speakers here raised very important, interesting points that we can sit here and discuss until tomorrow. But in the course of your discussions, I saw Angelique's hand up, and I believe she had a burning issue she wanted to contribute. Angelique, are you still there? And would you still like to speak or say contribute to that particular question? I don't know if Angelique is still there. Okay, I had seen her hand up in the course of this discussion, but that said, thank you so much. I think, to be fair, let's hear from some of the youth that we have with us on this particular question as well, and see what they have to say. I think Scoffer, you can call on them, at least the ones that we have worked with from GIMPA,
Okay.
just to get a feeling from them, just firsthand, off the cuff, what they feel and what they think, now they've had a little bit of taste in coaching.
Okay.
Just before they do that, before they do that.
Yes, who is saying something, please?
Hello, just before they do that, this is Jared. I'm in the wild. I'm in the wild. I'm trying to get an experiential training and coaching outfit going, but I got this link and I thought it's a brilliant idea. And one of the things that comes to my mind is the learning style of the young people. I was at my son's school, and one of the teachers said a very startling thing when she said, one of the reasons the young people don't do well is because we don't know their learning style. So I like the question, what is it that the young people are thinking? And while I was thinking about that, I also learned about three things, and I'm glad Sami talked about the education system. There are three things they don't teach in the university, and that is how to make money, how to speak in public, and how to set goals. Now, these are the areas that the young people will be trained or coached to get better at. And you'll be surprised, you can be a great graduate, but if you cannot sell yourself by talking about what it is that you can do, it can become a disaster, but you're well packaged. All you need to do is to know how to sell yourself and then get coaching around what it is that you're doing to bring out your best. So I think one of the biggest challenges that I foresee coming based on the data that you shared is as a result of the thought around developing the coaching fraternity. I sit on a global coaching body, and you wouldn't find a young person. So how is there connectivity with the young people? I know one coach or rather one aspiring coach at the Kenya chapter, and she's very passionate about coaching young people. And one thing that she missed was how to market herself. So when we talk about goals and dreams, when we talk about the ability to market the skills or the things that you do, it becomes like a blind spot for you. So these are very many coaching areas that we can tap into and help the young people bring out their best. So I wanted to say that before the young people speak, because they may end up saying some of the things that I've just spoken about. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going through the name. Give to Kobe Osei if you are here and you can hear me. Can you share with us your experience so far from the day of the International Coaching Week, coaching seminar we had, and what has been your experience so far, and what exactly can you say is your turning point with a coaching session for you? Gifty, if you are here and you can hear me, please unmute and join us.
Hi, Coach Scoffrey. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good
Thank you so
afternoon.
much for giving me the opportunity to speak. So early on, I didn't really know what coaching was about, but now that I do, I always wondered what exactly coaching was. So the closest thing I would say I knew about coaching was a football coach, and that was it. Now, getting a fair knowledge about coaching, it has given me a whole new perspective about coaching, a positive one actually. So coaching for me has generally been a good experience. Although I'll definitely say in the initial stages I was quite anxious about it. But taking on my coaching session was not what I expected. I found that I had to make decisions for myself with some guidance from my coach. At first I was nervous, but that I'll make a mistake. But my coach always assured me that in coaching, there was nothing like making mistakes. She constantly reassured me that our coaching sessions was a safe space. So it helped me to express myself and properly. So it's also encouraged me to come to realizations which I didn't really pay attention to. It made me recognize things I was unconscious about, making me more intentional about how I related to myself. So in terms of recommending coaching to people who are my age, I would say it's a very eye-opening experience, and that as somebody who has always felt I needed validation from others, I came to a discovery during one coaching session that the best person to get validation from was myself and God. Therefore, I came to a conclusion that whenever I was overthinking a situation, I'll give myself a pep talk and seal it with prayer. So, why will I recommend coaching then? It's quite simple. Coaching has helped me to come to a unique place of self discovery. It has helped me to discover parts of myself which I never thought I would get to discover. Finally, it has helped me to be unapologetically open to amazing coaches who will guide me every step of the way. And I would like to thank my coach, Coach Biju, for guiding me through my coaching sessions. So that's how my experience has been.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Raymond, if you are here and you can hear me, what has been your coaching experience so far? Raymond, if you are here and you can hear me, I just hope. Yeah, Raymond, if you are here and you can hear me. You can unmute. You are muted. So if you can hear me, you can unmute and share your experience so far.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raymond Najim Noah, and I happen to have been fortunate to have had to experience coaching in one of our sections in class. It was during an HR class, and then after the class, we had the opportunity to have a seminar in coaching, and then with the help of that seminar, I was able to realize that I was trying to blame others for my own lack of responsibility. I wasn't willing to open up to any. There was always someone I could always accredit the blame to. But then with the help of coaching, and then with the help of my coach, Coach Nanaya, I was able to come to realize that if I continue to blame people for my own problems, and then if I continue to shift my own responsibility onto other people, I can never grow to become the person I want to be, and then I can never achieve anything out of me just shifting blames and responsibility to people and trying to accredit all my wrongdoings to people. But then if I decide to open myself up and then decide to accept my own responsibility and take actions for my own self, I'll be able to grow as a person, and I'll be able to achieve whatever I set my mind onto to do. Because there is nobody who is going to get out of their way to come and do whatever it's supposed to me to do. I have to get up and then do it myself. And by so doing, I need to share of the way I view things. I need to change my perception. I need to actually grow. I need to learn. I'm not supposed to be looking at everything as a misfortune. I'm not supposed to try and find reasons as to why these things has to happen to me, but rather I should look at them as a challenge. I should try and fight them. I should try and find solutions, not only by me just trying to find solution, but then working things out and then helping me to grow. Because in this life we live, it's a journey, and then as part of the journey, there are going to be ups and downs. You would have to, there are some days you would win some fights, others you would lose, but then you get to learn certain things that you get to carry along with you. So that next time when you face another challenge or you come across something similar to that, you'll be able to encourage yourself, irrespective of whether you have people around to do it for you or you don't have anybody around to do it for you. You'll be able to encourage yourself and empower yourself to push through anything. This was a great experience for me, because I had always tend to accredit other people for my mistakes, not me not taking responsibility for them. And by so doing, it led me to view relationships in a different view. But through coaching, I am able to understand myself better. I'm able to express myself in a better manner. And this has been my experience from coaching, and I would recommend it to anybody. I would recommend it to my friends, my family, anybody, that coaching is actually a good thing, and then everybody should try and get involved in coaching. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you very much, Raymond. I think we have the last rep here. Emanuela, if you are here and you can hear me, you can unmute and share with us what has been your experience with coaching. Emanuela Ade, if you are here and you can hear me, please unmute and share with us your experience so far having encountered coaching.
Okay, so good afternoon, yes, I am Emanuela from Ghana, and I would say that the coaching has been very, very helpful to me, to the extent that it has made me know myself a little more than I even thought of what I expected. Yes, there were some hidden things that I didn't know about myself that I had to work on, that the coaching sessions enabled me to identify those things. And I've been trying out all the things that I got from it, and so far is letting me see myself in a new perspective, like in a new light, where I would encourage other people, like my fellow colleagues and anybody, to enroll into a coaching session, because is very helpful. It lets you find the parts of yourself that you didn't know was even there, or you thought was lost, or you were not someone like that. But it helps you identify who you truly are, and that is what the coaching has done for me. It has helped me to identify who I truly am, and in terms of everything I do, how I even relate to people. Like, the coaching session has made me understand the reasons why I do certain things and people react in those ways. So like the coaching has really helped me out, honestly. And I would really want everybody out there to find time, because time is value. And when you have that, the sessions may seem too long or too short to you, but then it's very impactful. You would gain a lot of information and knowledge about yourself as a personal being. Because that's what I like to say on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Emanuela, Raymond, and Gifty. Thank you very much. I will go to our speakers. If we listen to our young people, about 2 or 3 themes cut across: self-awareness, personal development, and the confidence to pursue a newer them. Let me put it that way. So if we go to let me share this slide again. I hope it comes as it should be. When we go to the agenda, when we go to the agenda 2063 of the African Union, it says Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, values, and ethics. It also considers an Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential offered by African people, especially its women, youth, and caring for their children. So I want to piece the question to these legs of Agenda 2063. What is the role of coaching in unearthing that inner greater sense of our young people, which will spur them on to champion their own growth, than how we always think we must carve and cut it for them to pursue? I come to you, Caroline.
Scopri, may I add a rider to your question?
Please go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Please go ahead.
Now, as you're pursuing this answer to this question, and remember the values and the ethics within the African society. What is it also about that will impact whatever it is you're going to suggest? Thank you. Thank
you, Caroline. Please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like the role of leadership is translation. So what needs most of the time is translating these, these like big words into like actionable points that the youth will understand. So I feel like we have beautiful policies. I think like we are designing declaration, we are designing agendas, and like these are at a high level. And we need that vision. We need that leadership to like say, okay, this is like setting the tone of where we are heading as a continent, as countries, as nations, as African communities. Then how do we break down that particular big agenda into actionable points that young people can now understand and work towards contributing towards that? So yeah, we do have a lot of like a cultural values that we share as a continent. We have, for instance, like a deep community-oriented values, but at the same time, they represent an opportunity and a trap. A trap in the sense that like we might end up like believing that we are all similar, we have all to do the same thing. Sometimes like we joke here in Rwanda how like one person started a business and other people copy that business because people have seen that how much it's generating revenues. But how do we work as a continent that has, yes, similar values, but also how do we emphasize on the individuality traits or individual traits that are making every one of us unique, that's complementary with each other, and how do we bring that interdisciplinary complementarity together to build different sectors, to build different subsectors, to bring different skill sets and passions and talents towards, you know, working to achieve their particular agenda. So for me, that's why I see like a coaching being catalytic. It's like, you know, helping people being in touch with themselves and their talents and their gifts. And once they tap in that genius area of theirs, then like they can be much more transformed, and when a person is transformed, their entire community is. But also like we have to celebrate individuality as much as we are celebrating community bonds. So that's
Thank
my
you
take
very
on it.
much. Thank you very much, Caroline. Samuel Ayim, your take on that sitting in the African context of values and everything, and hearing what has shifted in the lives of our young people in coaching now, where they could dig deep in themselves and begin to hold themselves responsible, accountable, and rechannel a certain new future they want to see, as compared to how basically we want straitjacketed they should live their lives of a sort. How can we have the right connection, our value that can help through coaching dig deeper in our young people to champion the growth we want to see on this continent?
Thank you, Scott Frey. I think one of the things that coaching can do to help our young people is to help them discover their identity. I talk about mindset. There's been a certain brain damage to us as a people. And I think coaching, especially for our young people, should begin to reorient our young people as to, one, our identity as a people, and two, the fact that we as a people, as Africans, are capable. Let me situate this. I ask the questions that, for example, we need to bring to our young people. How old was Kwame Nkrumah when he started fighting for independence in Africa? How old was Jomo Kenyatta? How old was Julius Nyerere, Leopold Senghor, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Nelson Mandela before he was arrested? Just check. Let's encourage our young people and present them such figures. Where are our young people taking models from? They're taking models from the West, you know, and that makes our young people feel that, oh, it's only from some other continent that we can have greatness. And I believe that as coaches, we need to begin to help our young people to already understand. All these people, Nkrumah and the rest, were fighting for independence in their 20s. So the young man, young woman should not be made to feel despondent, especially given the kind of leadership we have today. That's not the only leadership we have. We have great leaders even today in Africa, and we should begin to bring that model to them. I also think that we should begin to let our young people understand the value of learning. It's not just school, but the value of reading. This whole thing about, you know, if you want to hide something from the Africa, put it in a book. I think coaches should consciously help our young people to begin to start to read again, okay, if you want. Because if we can go back and read some of our histories, we will find that, in fact, you go to the Yasantuas of this world, they were young women who fought for this continent. And so the young people have potential, they have the capacity, and coaching should be able to bring their minds to the potential in them, the value in them, and what they can bring out. We also need to let them understand that, in fact, Africa, I mean, this quote of corruption has not been Africa. It's not African, okay? Because sometimes it's try to tag it on us, and they're seeing it all around today. But if we can bring them back to models of all these leaders that we knew, who didn't corrupt themselves, who had integrity, because that's the core of leadership, of development, of growth. If you don't have integrity, you're not going to go anywhere. So I think that, together with the responsibility that, you know, we should enable our young people, responsibility that they are able to respond to circumstances, and that circumstances cannot just determine their destinies. They can determine by their own responsiveness. Those are things that I think, if we can, as coaches, help our young people to focus on, would be great, to help drive the agendas that you think about, we talk about. Otherwise, we will have a long way to go.
Thank you very
Scott
much.
Frey.
Thank you very much. Nasirin, if you look at the AU Charter and the focus on developing the continent and the role women and girl child must play, you have heard two of our young ladies spoken brilliantly that they all had to go in and discover who they are. And we all heard them. It was not about a certain gender specific, but the moment they discover who they are, they become that they want to be for themselves. What is the role of coaching to be an intervention to support our young people to unearth that which they want to become in the confines of their collective interest?
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to reiterate is something Caroline mentioned, and it's that sometimes our African values themselves can also be a trap. And the one that comes to mind is the kind of, you know, when you say African parent, all of us can relate what an African parent can do or allow, or what you can do in an African household, etc. So we have this strictness about our culture, or a telling that we do as told or as prescribed. And that's one of the things that with coaching, we help turn that around. We help individuals, we help youths to really be able to see that, no, I can actually look inwards in myself to find solutions, and that I can drive the direction of my life, the direction of my career, the direction of my success from an inward perspective, as opposed to waiting to be told or expecting to be told what to do. And coaching can help drive that, both for the youth and also for their parents, the teachers. We spoke again around the education system and how that's also supporting, or perhaps not, the development of the youth as well. How are our education systems also structured? Do they follow a coaching approach? Mostly not. Here in Kenya, there are some education reforms going into more competency-based kind of education, and you can see some progress in that direction to really let or allow the youth to explore their own potential, explore their creativity, try and figure out what it is that they want to do. So coaching really starts turning the direction of the conversation from a telling to an empowering one. The other aspect of this is also trying to help them to reframe. One of the skills with coaching is reframing, helping the youth in Africa reframe what we see as problems and seeing them as actual opportunities. When you spoke of women, gender, the youth, many times it is spoken about as a challenge. And even the numbers show anyway, you know, the women, the girl child are still lagging behind on a number of indicators. But how can we look at that as opportunities? What opportunity does that open up for a woman, for a young girl growing up? What space can they then play into, because they are the minority, and be able to make the best out of that? So those are the the different aspects that I see coaching playing a role and really then assisting this AU agenda to get to where it wants to go.
Thank you very much, Coach Nazarian. Coach Eke Akanimo, you heard our young people. What was the one thing that stood out with you that we can leverage on to achieve at least the development Africa is in pursuit of for the year 2063?
Excellent. So one of the things I kept on hearing was that issue of, self-awareness, discovering themselves, and that is the beauty of coaching. I looked at that definition of coaching from ICF, and it says partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And from the onset, we've said we have these youths in large numbers. How do we help them to maximize that potential? Because where they are, they may be latent, but there's potential. How do we harness that? And, I love listening to all the other, my fellow coaches and all that. And another theme that I think seems to come out is, how do we get people to move away from apathy? Now, I don't know, I suspect Nigeria is not the only one. I follow elections a lot where, you have this huge number of youths and they could sway and determine the kind of person who gets into power. But many times at the end of the elections, you find out that there was 40% participation. Okay, so 80, a certain number of people registered. So how do we also reframe, like Nazarian said about, how do you also reframe their minds to take ownership? Okay, one of the youths, when he was speaking, was Roland said something about he was always, in the past, he was always blaming others for his situation. And now after coaching, realized that he can take, well, he didn't use the word ownership, but I'm going to use the word ownership, taking ownership of where he is and not blaming his teachers and society and parents. And I think that's something that we can help our youth to do. One of the things in the AU, that 7-point agenda for the AU was Africa and good governance, democracy, respect, and human rights. How do we help our youth to look at governance, not as don't go into governance, it's dirty, it will corrupt you, but take ownership. Sometimes they may partake in the elections. Sometimes it may just be making sure that they mobilize people to vote in a certain way. Because I like what I think Samuel said about everything rises and falls on leadership. If you have a strong leader, if you have a good leader, it has such a huge impact on turning that society around. Our youth are plagued with unemployment issues, poverty, drug addiction, mental health issues, and all that. And I'm sure it cuts across different African countries in various levels and all that. How do we also get our youth to embrace politics, whether as an active participant or helping to build those institutions or helping to see that they can influence the impact of the kind of leaders that either get there or even present themselves as the right leaders. So ownership is something that very often when I'm training in Nigeria, I take a lot of time in training employees how to take ownership and not just consistently blame their managers, their bosses, their MD. How do you take ownership of your life, your career, your development? Okay, we will say to people, for instance, that if the company never sends you for training, doesn't mean you can't develop yourself. That's taking ownership. If everyone is complaining and gossiping, doesn't mean that you have to do the same. You can follow the right channels with HR. That's taking ownership. So how can we make sure that our youth also take ownership in their own ways, whether it's at a local government level, whether it's at a team level, whether it's actually helping to build those institutions or even holding our leaders accountable to what they say. So that's the little I would like to. I'll stop there for now.
Thank you very much, Coach Akanimo. And I think before we come back to the panel, we want to open the gate for participants on the call, other coaches, other participants who have listened to what our speakers have put forth, as well as got to listen to some of our young people who are benefiting from pro bono coaching from ICF coaches in Ghana. Where my question to our participant is, if you look at the whole Agenda 2063 document, whichever frame of it that you read, there is not a single note on even mentoring, not to even hear coaching. If mentoring is even absent, if you look at the whole bouquet of the document there, you won't find one word that says mentoring. So if mentoring is even missing, how much more coaching, which is still a new frontier in this whole human capital development intervention? How can we make coaching an integral tool to make sure that we can support this particular Agenda 2063 as coaches and the value we bring to the dynamics of shift, transformation, growth, and development? And this goes to the participants in there before we come back to Emily and the speakers can take it up from there. Please, if you're a participant, you can just unmute and your name, where you are speaking from, and like 1 minute, 2 minutes, what is your take on that question? How can coaching be an intervention?
I think I saw Kayode's hand up. Kayode, with your hand up? No? Okay.
Yeah, to the participants in here, what is your take on how coaching can be an integrative tool to support Africa achieve its Agenda 2063 scheme? I think there are 7 schemes that they seek to achieve. Participant in there, can you just show your hand? Laura, please go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, so I'm in the US, I'm in Louisiana. And when I hear a lot of this, you know, granted culturally and the dynamics and politically different, but there's so many similarities. And someone mentioned in the chat around sometimes the youth are in fear of, you know, stepping into the politics and the risks associated with it and what the byproducts of that could be. But I think coaching, and from my experience, and I learned so much from my clients as well. So it goes both ways, but coaching allows them to look inside. And someone said this, everybody said this, it allows you to look inside to see where your strengths are, your gifts are. And that really breeds confidence and courage to step into some of those things that are scary. They're scary for all of us, much like the youth, right? So I think coaching in itself is an intervention in terms of stop looking outward, start realizing what you were born here for, the gifts that you have, and start being able to rely on them and trust your influence so that you can step in and do some of these big things. You know, that's what I hear when I hear all of you speak. And it's such a blessing to be where I am, listening to where you are. We're one. And that's what makes me so blessed to be on here. So thank you, Scopre. And everyone
Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you very much. Gladys Asamoah, your hand is up. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. Gladys, you have the floor. Hello, Gladys. Are you there?
Maybe she's muted.
My name is Anaka, and then I be that. Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm saying that I believe strongly that coaching can be used as a tool to promote development, because I believe that the greatest asset of any institution or any country or the continent is the human resource. And then listening from the beneficiaries of the coaching program, you would realize that it made them become self-aware. And once an individual becomes self-aware, it helps them to sort of know themselves. And once someone knows themselves, they are like they become happy, and then I feel like it even goes a long way to make sure that people become productive at the workplace because they know what triggers them, they know what doesn't trigger them, and also have good relationships with people and all of that. So that is what I think. However, I'm a beneficiary of this coaching.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful. Patrick, Coach Patrick.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm enjoying the talk, hearing everybody talking. And I mean, coaching has, I think coaching and the aspect that I just hear people talking about potential, they're talking about the purpose. A lot of young people are in, but they don't know why they are in. So as soon as somebody discovers his purpose, he becomes an extraordinary person. Because when you know why you are here, you don't waste time. When you don't know why you are here, I mean, you just go where everybody's going. I mean, Miss Ayim know my example. We were together at EcoBank. When I know my purpose, I left EcoBank because I realized that what I'm called to do is so big that, I mean, there's something inside. I can't just be in a small corner inputting. So knowing your purpose, we need to help the young people to discover their purpose, who they are. What are they born to do? Now, somebody talk about helping them also to set the goal. Coaching them through that process, help people to know that, wow, I am here to make impact. What do they love naturally? What is natural for them to do? Somebody can be like, my father has been a musical daughter. Reason want to become a musical daughter. No, your father can be a musical daughter. Are you born to a musical daughter? I think coaching can help young people to discover, one, their purpose, their potential, and to help them go through that, and they'll become extraordinary people. This is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Coach Angelique, if you can hear me, we want to hear your voice. What is your take on this conversation as we are gearing towards creating a ripple of coaching effect on this continent to make sure we are felt in this drive of development? Coach Angelique, if you can hear me and you have any input to this, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Well, listening to everybody and living in Côte d'Ivoire myself and working with a lot of clients from African soil, I think the one thing that I would like to add is if I compare all the clients that come from African soil compared to my clients outside of the continent, is the incredible level of resilience. And looking at opportunity, that's specifically one that's clearly here. I have a lot of clients that have a lot of trauma. And at the same time, if I compare the trauma of the clients that come from African soil compared to other continents, there's quite a difference. At the same time, I have these strong, resilient people in front of me who are so eager to make a difference. And that level of eagerness and passion is something that I believe really will make a difference. Which I really relate to, once there's an opportunity to actually think about who am I, what are my values, what am I good at, what do I love to do, and what's my purpose, what do I believe in? And from there, being involved in politics or being involved in anything is a consequence of something that's more important to an individual. So I think that sort of added value of the we instead of the me is truly a big asset.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angelique. Melody Ofori, your hand is up, and after that we go to Kayode. Then Emily, take over with your with the main speakers.
Yes, I'm happy to be part of this program, and I'm representing Girls Excellence Movement. We are into educating young girls to bring out their best potential in them. So I'm so happy to be part. And this is what I've realized, that usually Africans or people in Africa have the best of education, but we are always looking elsewhere for solutions to our problems. I've had the privilege to travel to other countries, and I realized that most often when there are issues, they look within to find the solutions to the challenges that they encounter. So it means that coaching is very key in helping us develop ourselves as individuals first, to find out the solutions within ourselves. Because if you're able to help yourself in times of challenges or in times of difficult situations, you will be in the position of helping another person. So in politics, we are blaming the government, we are blaming anything but ourselves. Even though we don't do well in school, it's because of someone. So I'm sure that coaching will help drive this development agenda more than expected. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Coach Kayode, after you, then we have Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think for me, one of the things that really struck me very early in life, because having done a phenomenal number of career coaching over the years, over the last 14, 15 years, going all the way back to my university days when I used to give career talks, going to secondary schools and give career talks. One of the things that really struck me was very poor career education. You see it in young children. At the early stage of education, I mean, I'm Nigerian, looking back home, where you would find that you would see the career days organized by schools, where you come in all dressed up in different attires, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and all that. And then over time, that just dwindles and dies, literally. Of course, I saw data coming out of the US a number of years ago, where I saw that students in their first year, about a large chunk of them in the 60 to 80 percentile were still not sure of their career choices, even though they were studying a course. And then I saw those who were in their third, some even in their final years, 50% of whom were still not sure. And this is in the West. This survey was done several times and they got the same result. It was shocking. When you come back to the African continent, first of all, they don't even let you change. I mean, in Nigeria, I don't know the data in Ghana or in other African countries, but I can tell you one thing about Nigeria: it's difficult to change. If you pick a course, it's tough changing your course or study. And then you find people who come out of school, come out of universities, and they come to me for a lot of graduates who come to me back in the day, and I would say, how can I help you? And you hear questions like, I need a job. And I would say, okay, so what kind of job are you looking for? And I would hear stuff like, I don't know. And I'll say, what do you mean you don't know? And they'll say, well, I was thinking maybe I could be a manager. I say, manage what? Where? In what capacity? What did you study? And then, oh, I had studied a course I really hated and I would like to. Okay, so you see the confusion. And round pegs and square holes is a serious, as far as I'm concerned, that's the number one problem in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Round pegs and square holes. Some of us even found ourselves on the job. He says there are stories among us. Oh, I discovered while I was working. Most people never do find out, you know. And when you start talking about transitions, there's a confusion around, okay, this is where I am, what do I transit to? Who am I? Who do I want to become? And then, of course, you see those things. I mean, I was in my son's, they had a career day. I walked in there and I was hearing the same old stuff. So the problems are still prevalent. And as coaches, well, I for one, of course, I'm no longer doing so much into career, but I do still do a lot of transitions because people still come to me. But you see the same thing playing out. And for us as coaches, particularly on the African continent, where the first thing you have to deal with is poverty. It's the first thing. The mindset is already jaded because you think about the next meal. You want to go to school, who pays the fees? Who's your sponsor? You come out of school, I need contacts, I need to get my first job. So you find that the self-responsibility isn't something that is prevalent, it's not strong. And those are part of the things that people said. So I think, I don't know, there's still so much. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Coach Kayode. And I saw Emmanuel, your hand is up, Emmanuel Adentri. And after that, we go to Emily, then you take it up with you and the guest speakers.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Scoffrey. I hope I'm being heard.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful being part of this program. I think I'm a student of Mr. Ayim Sam, and I think I've been following for some time now. What we are discussing has really motivated me to see things in a different light. I've always desired to be part of probably a group of people like you. And from hearing and listening to all of you speak, I realized that the educational system is not having any inspiration. All right, the inspiration bit of education has been taken out. So you see people go to school and they are more instructed. It's like they are depositing more information into them. But when coaching comes in, coaching tries to play the real role of education. I think a little knowledge I know, a little research I did about education is that the word education comes from educate, which means to raise, to nurture, to lead out. So the educational system, most teachers now try to deposit information instead of helping nurture what is inside people. So people like Mr. Ayim and the likes, and I mean, the great work all of you are doing all over in Africa. I think if we take coaching out of the value chain of human development, education is part, mentoring is part, and all the other aspects of the intervention concerning human development, they are all parts. If you take coaching out, you would have, we will have a very serious problem with the human development, the value chain of the human development space, within the human development space. So I think that coaching is playing a key role in really performing the role of education. All right, the role the education needs to play in developing human potentials. If you take it out, education will not achieve its aims. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Emily, and your guest panel.
Yes, thank you so much. We've heard so many interesting, different perspectives. Thank you from the participants who are out there lending your wisdom and lending your perspectives to this important subject. Yes, all those things are a challenge for us in Africa in particular. In fact, a challenge for developing world as per se. And this Agenda 2063, it takes nothing of that into account. They just, it is the normal thing that they do in economic development. They put out the same old things. There's no human face to it, as it were. Whereas coaching brings human face to everything, because as soon as somebody says, I'm not sure, I don't know where I want to go, I don't know what it's okay. So what do you want to do? What do you have that can do this? So I would want to ask our coaches, now, how can we make this become organic? This coaching ability within our institutions, the coaching ability with parents, for instance. Parents play a key role. How do we rope in parents, nurturers? I don't mean parents simply because you have a biological child. As long as you're leading and inspiring a youth somewhere, you're a parent. How do we inculcate all this and make it become organic in Africa? Take us back to where we came from, because it was organic before. I remember stories from my grandmother, tales in the moonlight, sitting under the tree, where they impart knowledge to the youth, they impart knowledge to children, give them direction for something. It no longer happens. It's the TV, it's the cell phone. It is, you have to go to Harvard, you have to go to Yale, you have to go to some Ivy League school. So it's a rat race. So how do we allow children to dig into themselves and say, this is who I want to be? And then we help them become that person by inspiring, evoking in them that awareness that they have all it takes to become that person that will be successful. Let me start with you, Caroline.
Yeah, that's a profound question, and thank you for it. So I think it starts really like, from, if you look at like a human development, a child mainly like start developing from their home. So I feel like the more we have a newer generation of informed parents, so I feel like there have been so many consequences of colonization that we are still living. We're talking about, African values. I think like there have been a whole generational gap in terms of like, parents who were a result of a colonialist education system, and we've seen where they have led us. There are so many great outcomes that we've seen, but also like there are so many missed opportunities that we are also like seeing. I think the more we have an educated and informed generation, and thanks to globalization, we are getting there. I think like the more parents go through like this conversation, these like academies, these leadership cycles, the more we will have like a wider range of parents who are self-aware, who have worked on healing their traumas, who are like, healthier, and who have also like, acquired more technical hard skills, and like, okay, it's not enough for one to develop, and how do I continue raising that awareness so that I can be a healthier human being, thus a healthier partner and a parent, and then the next generation is gonna benefit from that. But again, they have to be intentional design of programs that have to be adjusted. So for instance, like there's one particular component we are piloting here, which is like the Youth Leadership Academy that we have actually, as last week, piloted in tertiary education. So, students in tertiary education, they are getting access to this like a wonderful technical expertise and like skills. But again, if this particular personal leadership component is missing, we are not going to influence the education sector as easily as if you're really like designing these programs that we can really like, tie to the formal education. And once universities starting this program working, once they start like being transformative to their students, they're gonna really like start influencing like the education policies, and then like these people who go through this leadership again programs at universities, there are thousands. If these 1,000 people go in like a lead organization, institutions, and corporate institution as well, they're gonna kind of like they will have been exposed to the importance of coaching and how catalytic it can be for one's life, and it's gonna be much easier for them to bring someone on board to support their team towards like a professional and personal development. So I do believe that coaches, we are still few on the continent, but we are the light. So for instance, like when I left my career in international development, where I have like a formal titles and like impressive titles and everything, and to go in like becoming a coach, a lot of people thought that I was depressed, I was like having like this life crisis, but it's because I knew how much transformative coaching had been to me. And I was like, if I'm carrying this light inside of me, how do I share it with people around me, especially in the Rwandan ecosystem where we have like this development momentum, but I could see that component was really lacking. And I was like, I'm not gonna sit in this like a formal position, like I do nothing, but it's also like how we become the light that is shared across countries and continents. And like the more coaches we have, the more people are gonna be enlightened, and then like the more the development gets also boosted by the people and the children of the continent. So for me, that's the take on the question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline. Akanimo, listening to Caroline now, how do you build on that? Where do we go now?
All right. Thank you.
Was it for me or Samuel?
Akanimo.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think in summary, I'll just say this: we need to keep on talking. We need to keep on. I love what Caroline said. We need to keep on talking about it, one step at a time, and use opportunities like ICF Nigeria, ICF Ghana, ICF Rwanda, Kenya, to build this coaching practice and spread the word. I think it was Caroline that said something around, most Africans, for instance, when I was growing up, you know, if you ask your parents something, or your parents says do something in a particular way, and you say, you know, why? You know, the answer will most likely be something like, because I said so, because I'm your dad, because I'm your mom, right? And nowadays with the millennials and the Gen Zs, you know, you need to be able to share the reason why you're doing something. Even with my 8-year-old daughter, I can't even try that with her, even with my gray hair, and say, do it because I said so. She said, but Daddy, why? So I think we need to keep on talking. I speak at seminars to parents where we're saying to parents, you know, you want to connect with your children. It's no longer about just saying, do it because I said so. It's around having those conversations. It's around getting their inputs. It's around understanding where they want to, where they're coming from, getting insight from them, letting them understand who they are. And, you know, with organizations as well, companies are having challenges in managing people in this generation, and saying to those managers, well, you can no longer get productivity from people by just screaming on them and shouting on them. It may have worked 20 years ago. It's no longer working now. And so many times I say to people, I am so happy with the generation Gen Z and Gen Y, because not only because they speak out, because they push back on this kind, on, you know, archaic leadership and parenting styles where you don't allow people to have a voice. You don't want to hear them out. You don't help them to bring out their creative juices. And now managers are changing. Well, maybe they've been forced to change, but now they're changing in terms of they have to show empathy. You know, one of the guys, I think one of the coaches, I think the coach for, is it Kenya? He said something earlier. He said he wishes they taught 3 things: how to speak in public, how to make money, and how to set goals. I just wrote it. I said, that's powerful. If I was to add anything, I would say how to listen, you know, getting people to learn how to listen, to show empathy, and to, you know, ask people their own thoughts. It's no longer about a leader, a president, a manager saying, do it because I said so. It's also about listening to people, getting their inputs, and then bringing out that the creative juices that people have. So, you know, in summary, I would just say we have to keep on talking. Let's talk to schools. Let's keep on having our ICF bodies all around so that we empower ourselves as parents, as coaches, to impact society. Let's see how we can get this curriculum into schools where, you know, leadership programs, where we're building leaders who show empathy. We're building leaders who listen. We're building leaders who know how to set goals, set targets, and all that. I think I will stop there for now.
Okay, thank you very much, Akanimo. Naserian, now listening to Caroline, listening to Akanimo, and talking about catalyzing all that coaching can bring to the table. And then look, just anticipating Agenda 2063, where we know that there is no human touch, there is not that soft skill aspect to it. It's more of a policy document that has not looked at the human being that is going to help bring this to the fore. Now, what would your take be on this now, building on that, on all that your 2 panelists have said, brought to the table at this moment?
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. The saying that's coming to mind is, to whom much is given, much is also expected. And we know how beautiful and powerful this gift of coaching is, having experienced it and having observed its power on others. And so because of that knowledge, then we also then bear a heavy responsibility. And perhaps it is time that we, as the coaches that are there in Africa, also start embracing our responsibility of actually influencing these bodies or these organizations or these institutions that we know can help us have much bigger impact? How can we influence the AU? How can we have conversations with them to make sure that they are aware of the power of coaching and what it can, how it can help catalyze the achievement of the goals that they have? How can we start speaking in our communities with the authorities that are there in terms of the power of coaching and how it can impact our communities, our schools, the education system? How can we try to influence parent associations where we are to appreciate the power of coaching and what we can do? So I think we also have a huge responsibility on our back to educate and to influence, so that we can start seeing then that level of impact that we so desire.
Thank you, Luceria. Sami, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Sami, your three panelists have put a lot on the table for you.
Yes.
To chew and digest and sort of give us now what next?
Yeah. Yes, they've said quite a lot, and I just want to reemphasize that I agree that as coaches, we need to take our responsibilities, those of us who have seen the light. So advocacy is one. And in that process, we have to begin to pull together, work together. Now, in this respect, the two examples that I just want to share. There's one coaching organization in Uganda called Coach Africa. It had opportunity to do a training to look through the Kofi Annan Fellowship, which is a leadership development for public health workers. And then when they look at the program, they were asked to advise. They said, this program doesn't have a coaching element. They said, what is coaching? So, well, bring a proposal. So they made a proposal, and that was coaching was put as part of that program. I have opportunity to have been associated with a part of that program for the last 2-3 years now. And I can tell you, all the senior public health officers who are coming, senior, top level from all Africa, only maybe 0.5% have heard about coaching. So when we sit in the class, nobody hears about coaching. So we need the advocacy. We need to push the advocacy, and we need to work together. The second is BCA, which is BCA Leadership is also a platform where a number of African coaches are pulling together and are doing a lot of advocacy and doing programs that would help from the executive level down. And so we need to work together as coaches. And the other thing that I think is so important around the advocacy, this goes back to the curriculum, and this is big, but we have to start from somewhere. The curriculum in our educational systems actually need some works. The curriculum has outlived its usefulness. It is not even addressing the African agenda issues. And as part of that, one of the areas we have to quickly start from is the teacher training institutions. If we can get coaching into the teacher training institutions so that every teacher who is going to the classroom has an understanding of what coaching is and how they can use coaching, this would totally change the way they are teaching the children and the way they are working with the children. So those are some of the things that I think we should, and of course, whenever we have the opportunity, we should go ahead and continue to evangelize, take up programs like this. So those are some of the couple of things I can add. One other thing that is very interesting, we know that a lot of the self-awareness and competency programs and softwares that we use, a lot of them have been developed usually in contexts that are not, that exactly do not take our context into being. And recently, actually yesterday, part of BCA, there's one lady in Zambia who has developed a competency assessment called Zanga, which is African-based, taken into some of our African cultural dynamics and how they affect leadership. And I think we as coaches may probably be well advised to look at some of those tools that we can also use to bring the aspects of our culture that is missing in some of the tools that we use, even if it is 360 competence leadership assessment. It was so powerful yesterday when the presentation was done to us, and actually she said she was going to do a presentation on Zanga at the ICF Global Conference, which is great. So those are some of the things. A lot of work is going on. We need to pull together as coaches, and I go back to the early independence days. Nkrumah, Azikiwe, and all those guys were working together. It's not the story that we are seeing now. They really work together to fight for independence. So we must work together. I think we will be able to make the difference we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you all the speakers. Thank you all the contributors from the floor. I think that we have realized that the generational progressions that have brought us now to the generational divides. Baby boomers are now going out, and I say baby boomers are the last of the traditional generations. The generation X, Y, Z, 2022, those are the new generations. They're a bit in a haste, and they're a bit impatient, but they're also, like Kanimo said, they want to know why. The question is also why. Why do we should do this? Why should I do that? So we should begin to open our minds to begin to bring out, evoke that answer of why from themselves. So if we can reach into the youth, if we can reach into ourselves to help those who are around us to make sure that they understand that everything that needs a solution, the solution is within them. That there is no issue that is surrounding anyone for which a solution cannot be found within them. So ourselves as coaches in Africa, we come together as you have all suggested, and we know that the solution is within us. So we need to come together, and like Sam just said, we should advocate more about getting coaching into most of the things that are happening, especially the key things that are happening. Zanga is an important competency model that I think we should all look at, because I know when we were all doing our coaching courses, at least I found that element of the cultural element is missing. So we are looking at things from one aspect, and yet we are actually molded from a different clay. And then we try to fit into something that is not natural to us. So let's look at what is natural to us and bring it to the table and help this Agenda 2063 be natural and normal for Africa, and pull Africa to a point of development that AU wants to see. But if the answers are within us, we cannot wait for them to try to do all this on their own, because they cannot. We also have to evoke awareness within them that that the answers are within them, but we have to do it together. And we have to inculcate coaching into everything that we do, because it is the coaching that stops us to think. All the coaches that we had at GIMPA, their first reaction was fear. Oh, I'm afraid about being coached. I don't know about this. But the moment you speak to them and they relax and they realize that this is not a test, it's not a quiz, it's a conversation about me and what I want, what I can do, and that the answer is within me. And they relax more and they say, oh, that's easy. So I don't have to fear this. I don't have to fear that. And I've been making excuses for myself for no reason. Let me take a second look. Every single one of them felt this way after our interventions with them. And we will continue to intervene with them. And when the dean saw this change coming about within students within 3 hours, he said, no, this is not something only for students, it's for leadership as well. So we have to have the patience to give something freely before we can sow that seed, that coaching is an element we need to spread but we have to give of ourselves as coaches first and show that we have to sow a seed that needs to be nurtured in every institution, in every mind and in every heart, that the solutions of Africa are within us.
Awesome.
Patrick, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really like what you just said, and Mrs. Sam Ayim said something very important about the culture. When we are talking about AU for Africa, I'm a French-speaking person, so I felt like we talk about coaching Africa, but Africa is not only found with English-speaking people; they are French-speaking. So I learned English but French in my first language. And I realized that Mr. Ayim talk about a certain woman, if I get it well, in Uganda. I did my coaching with Erickson in Paris, but I realized that the coaching approach was more adapted to people in Europe. But African, we have our reality. So I love what Mr. Sam Ayim said, how African can develop coaching school, which can fit into our culture, our values, because anything is outside. Most of that, their example is people from outside. If you bring it into Africa, it doesn't fit well. People can't follow. So I really want to encourage anything which is a very good coaching school in Africa. We need to promote it. For example, I'm a certified coach with Genos Emotional Intelligence. Wonderful tool being developed in Kenya. So if we are able to push this into school, into government, what is done in Africa, people can buy into it. I'm sure it will have great impact. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Angelina.
Thank you so much. My name is Angelina Sana Agbenya. I'm from Girls Excellence Movement. And I'm a final year University of Ghana student. I'm so glad for partaking in this educative coaching seminar. I'm really grateful. I just want to say something a bit on the way forward for coaching. Actually, I combined sociology with accounting, and after everything, I have some of my friends asking, so Senna, what do we really need sociology for? Looking at what is being taught and what we need in Ghana. Looking at the histories, things that maybe in the first world, things that are being taught, like things they are teaching us and things that we really need as a country. There is a total disconnection, which make it that even as we are in the classroom, we just sit there for sitting down sick, get out, and nothing is actually imparted into this. So I would like to urge ICF, if maybe we have maybe a 3 credit hours for studies maybe every week. So if maybe an hour can be used for maybe a coaching, which the 2 hours can be used for other whatever they want to teach, I believe it will be very, very great. So if ICF can take it upon themselves and come to especially the universities and even the training colleges and plead with them how the new generation is parting away from what is really needed now. I believe that will be very, very grateful, and Africa will go where we want it to be in 2063, as everyone wants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angelina. And we have just 9 minutes to call it a wrap. So the quick one we want to do is, the participants, can you just type one word that you are taking away from today's session before we come to our main speakers and their last words, just some few seconds. We have barely 8 minutes to go. So if you're a participant, can you just type one word you are taking away from today's coaching dialogue in Africa? Intentional. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Please, I'll be reading, so kindly leave your one word. What are you taking away from today's today's webinar that we've organized as coaches. And we want to say from our ICF Ghana, ambitious ICF Ghana coaches, and we want to say a very big thank you to Kenya, to Nigeria, to Rwanda. Rwanda, we are teething or baby chapters, but we are in this together. So yes, we have Gertrude says inspired, empowering, community, ambitious, great initiative. Take the coaching philosophy out there, sell it, educative. Please keep it coming if you are here. What is your last word? Patrick, is importance of coaching in our education. Please keep it coming. Keep it coming. Yes, just add for me is self-awareness, personal responsibility. Please keep it coming. That is your one word. This is one way you are going to tell the world what coaching can do. What is lacking in our growth and development is coaching intervention to support other. Coach Stephanie, thank you, inspiring. So back to our coaches. Just your last line. Bringing 4 nations together to spearhead such an agenda. What is your final take on this? And would you request we do this more often? So starting with Nazirian.
Thank you, Scoffrey. I think I want to quote a fellow Kenyan career coach that I spoke to earlier today. And he said, when I want to, I do better than when I have to. And he got me thinking in terms of if we can help the African youth to find what it is they want to do, they will do much better than what they have to do. And those numbers that you quoted at the beginning of the webinar, then now we ignite that army. If we can even just get half of that number fully engaged in pursuing the mission and the purpose that they feel that they are driven to have, to do in their lives, then just imagine the change that we can impact as coaches. So for me, it is onwards. Yes, I agree with you, Scoffrey. We need to do sessions like this more often. We have power in numbers. We have more insights in numbers. We should be sharing our ideas and our thoughts more often like this at an African level. We can definitely have much more impact. So thank you very, very much for organizing this, for having me here, for all the sharing that all the participants have done. I'm leaving much fuller than I came in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Samuel Ayim, we come to you. Your last words.
Thank you, Scoffrey, and thank you, colleagues, for the great learning and all the participants. It's been a great session. And yes, I agree, we need more of this. I think one of the things that I would want us to continue to think about is how to bring African needs and if you like, Africanness into our coaching. I remember when, as part of my training, ICF training, I was supposed to create a coaching model. And the model I call it the Anansesem coaching model. Why did I call it Anansesem? Because this comes from my upbringing, the stories we used to share and tell. That's how we learned. And so we need to develop because we the Africans, we love our stories. And so we need to bring these stories back into even our coaching processes. I would also add that as coaches, we need to draw closer to the youth because there is a lot of judgment on the young people today and they feel a bit alienated. The young people need us to be closer. We need to understand them. We need to look at them holistically, independent of how they dress, how they this, and all those things. Those are just symptoms, but the whole person of the young people. And if we can continue the program you've started with JIMPA and others into different institutions, I think will be great. So kudos, Scoffrey and the team for great work done, and let's keep the fire burning.
Thank you very much. Caroline, your last parting words.
Yeah, echoing what my fellow panelists just said, we need more of these conversations. They're also like actually very inspirational for coaches, because also like a coaching is also like a what feeds your soul, right? When you're a coach, it's like which conversation make you richer, so that you can also like share that with your coaches. So for me, this was like a moment of wisdom, learning from like what other coaches in the other chapters are doing on the continent. So yeah, really like, to wrap it up is like a great reminder that we are the solutions we've been waiting for as Africans. It's becoming more and more clearer to us now. So we can no longer run away. I feel like for people like us who've gotten these resources, these tools, these skills, it is our responsibility to move the movement forward, the African youth movement forward. Like there's like so much influence out there. When I think about, for instance, social media alone, like youth need like other voices to balance like whatever they're getting from like all of these other sorts of influences. And I feel like as coaches and as African coach, we have and we carry that responsibility. So may we continue to like carry that that light forward, so that you can continue influencing and transforming movements. So thank you very much for having me. This was extremely insightful.
Thank you. Coach AK, your last words.
My last words. I think I'd love to see more collaboration with the other ICF bodies. So great meeting the teams from Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda. I think we need to keep this conversation going. I won't lie, when I saw AU 2063, I said, man, that's a long time from now. But there's this saying that says a society grows great when old men plant trees of shades that they may never grow in, or they may never, benefit from. And I think I'll just substitute that old men with coaches and say we as coaches have the opportunity to impact this growing this youth army. Sometimes people say, oh, millennials and Gen Zs, they're lazy. And I say, no, I disagree. I don't think that they're lazy. They're certain to things that ways they've been grown up, and technology and all that has embraced maybe certain behaviors. But if we can just tap into that genius, their creative potential, their energy, and just help to guide them, I think we have an army of people that can transform the continent. And it will be a privilege for me as a coach, and for many of us, I believe, to be able to be there to support them, to come down, understand them better, show empathy, listen, and help to guide them to be who they can be.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. This has been a very insightful and inspiring session for us. Sometimes you think, oh, 2 hours is too long, and this and that. Here we are, 2 hours is a wrap. And if we are left again to sit in other conferences, we would have continued. So on behalf of Ghana is almost there to become an ICF Ghana chapter. So we are almost there by grace of, we are almost at the last lap. The last header has been overrun, and we are just waiting for the letter from ICF to tell us what must be told. So we want to share the good news that yes, behind Nigeria, the second ICF chapter is emerging for West Africa. And this is a dream come true for all coaches in this coaching community. Also, thank you to all our GIMPA coaches. Listen, this is an awesome journey. We are on this with you. And we want to say that the Dean of the Business School is so much interested to see what we'll be doing again in collaboration with GIMPA next year for the International Coaching Week. So the relationship is kept, and we will expand it to various places. And thank you very much. I want to appreciate Emily and Biju. They are not here. All this that is happening, these are what we call the core. It has been Emily, myself, and Biju pushing this, support from Sami, support from all other members. We are only 23 that we are pushing to bring this chapter into being, and by the grace of God, we've done it. So those watching us from on LinkedIn, we say a very big thank you. Those watching us from America, Burkina Faso, any part of the continent, this is the way to go. And like Coach AK said, Sami also reiterated, all our speakers said, this is the way to go, and we appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend, and we will do this again at that time. All the best.
Thank you.